Welcome to UnSUCKcessful. We're your hosts, Jen.
And I'm Brandy, and this is the podcast where we admit out loud
that we suck.
So if life has ever felt like a dumpster fire,
you're in the right place.
Well, let's get into it.
This week, I'm sharing the suckiest time in my life. It wasn't actually the moment my dad died, but the 2 years that came after, when I completely lost my identity, gave up hope, and felt like throwing everything away. I'll take you through the anxiety, the panic, and how I slowly brought myself back to life, one tiny step at a time. If you've ever been in a dark place, this one's for you. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite parts of this episode on Instagram at UnSUCKcessful Podcast. Let's dive in.
Yes, let's talk about when you sucked the most. Yeah. Or the one that's popping into
when I was in college. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, or the one that's popping into your head today because, it depends on the day.
Okay.
Right?
This is a long story. I like to tell stories.
Let's listen. I'm excited. Let's listen to the story.
The funny thing is, looking back, you never know when it started, right? You never know when, the worst time of your life actually started. Because I think when you're in it, you don't really know how shitty it is until you look back.
Mm-hmm.
So, not funny at all. My dad died. And that was this spiral.
Yeah.
Total spiral. I was talking to someone and it's been 2 years since my dad died. I was talking to someone and they said, since you went through your midlife crisis? And I'm like, still going through it. And I was like, oh, that is a unsuccessful word. I think that's an unsuccessful phrase because
midlife crisis.
Yeah, I do. Because it's like this, you think of, when I hear the term midlife crisis, I think about guy in his 50s, mid 50s, graying hair in a red sports car with 26-year-old.
We're showing our age.
Yeah,
we are millennials.
We are going to be 55.
It's like Freedom. It's like Freedom 55 commercials.
Right. Yeah, but they're with a girl, a mistress,
yeah.
And they've gotten divorced. It's this movie. There's probably a movie that I saw.
We're showing our age.
So, and that's okay.
I wonder what Gen Z's thing is.
For midlife crisis?
Yeah, do they have that? Are they going to have one?
Interesting. Gen Z. I don't know if they're going to make it that long. No, I'm just kidding. Too much. Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll make it further. I don't know.
Are they even going to have a midlife? What's their crisis going to be? Anyway, we already have a vision of what our midlife crisis, what that means to you. Go on. I interrupted.
Well, okay. So dad gets sick and dad dies. And that was kind of this jarring moment for me. I didn't actually think he would die. When he got sick, it was the first time I ever thought that I'd be on this planet without my dad. Mm-hmm. And it put everything into this massive perspective. What I realized is I was burnt out before dad got sick, the whole time. Looking back now, I started Teacup and I learned I was pregnant 3 days before we launched, and then had this little baby, and then had this 2.5-year-old, and it was just go, go, go. And then when I signed up, I started working with Bob Proctor, and Bob Proctor is amazing, and everything was transformative and life-changing. That was in 2019. But it was a lot of this rammy, forced culture of make these big goals and go frickin' get them.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that.
Yeah. I just want to just when we met, mm-hmm. I remember you, there you were with Arlo baby on the boob, mm-hmm. or
yeah, literally nursing
in these coaching sessions, and that's my business partner Chanel. She's same thing. I don't even know, during COVID had her baby, mm-hmm. Here we are, these moms, big goals, dreams, doing all of these different things, managing all these different roles, and again, we're doing it to ourselves. Yeah. It's not but we, there's the culture around it and all of that, but. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I remember that and just being wow, I wasn't in that stage of life. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ty was, I say, 2.5. Yeah. I mean, granted, I had 3 kids. I was still dealing with my own. But I just know, being babies, a whole, your body, it's just draining absolutely everything. Your
hormones.
You're nourishing them. It's just coming out, what is happening right now? Yeah. So yeah, it's always amazing to me. I'm always okay. The energy level, where's that coming from? you know?
I know. And I do
Yeah.
believe that you have the energy. That was something that was crazy when I was pregnant or after I had Tag. Is I was like, you can actually function on very little sleep. Like I was getting 4 hours a night and I was pretty good. But
I can't do that.
well, I can't now. I'm like a solid 9 to 10 hour.
Yeah.
Like
Me too.
I can't go with that little sleep. But actually with Arlo, Tag slept really, really good, but I actually remember waking up in the middle of the night to go nurse Arlo. And for like 3 nights in a row, I walked smack into our bedroom door that was closed, like almost broke my nose. And Nick was like, what the hell? I scared the shit out of him. I woke up, like she was already awake crying, but then I woke up Tag. So pretty soon everyone in the house, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? My nose is broken. I swear to God, I was hallucinating because I was going out and I swear that I saw the open door into the hallway. Like that's how, like I was still asleep. I was sleepwalking. That's how sleep deprived I was when I had Arlo. It was crazy. Where does the energy come from? I think it comes from alignment. I think it comes from being in a state of just doing what you're supposed to do. But the misalignment is what drains you. And I remember Teacup being this thing where now I know it's always been very ego driven for me. And again, growing up in the construction industry and fighting the man, and there was a massive amount of masculine energy. And I puffed up my chest, I flexed my muscles, and I wore my damn high heels, and I was a diva. And then going to do it on your own is a completely different energy. I'm so good when I'm working for someone else. When I'm working for myself, like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Wow.
Like everyone, right?
It's so interesting to me because we have such similar, like, drives, motivations, stories, which is so different.
Yeah.
Just so different. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It is.
So anyway, keep going.
It's like those parallel synchronicities, but again, totally different.
Totally different. We both have daddy issues, but in very different ways.
Yeah. Yes. We'll talk about that. That'll be on another episode. Daddy issues. No, it's true.
It's true.
Absolutely
It's true.
So
that masculine, the male energy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So when Dad died, I realized that everything I was doing and every reason why I wanted to be successful was for him.
Yeah.
Because he was so proud of me. And that validation from him, everyone, I'd have his friends come up to me and say, your dad's so proud of you. After the funeral, we talked and it meant so much. But at the same time, it was like,
now what?
Yeah. And actually Brandy was the one, we went for your 40th birthday drinks at Steel and Vines.
Okay.
Yeah. We had wine. And I had told you how lost I felt in like, it was probably a good 6 or 7 months after Dad died. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I feel nothing. I feel like I have no purpose. I feel like there's no reason for me it wasn't like continue on. Like I was suicidal, let's say, like I wasn't going to end my life, but I was like, I have no reason to continue this fight of like building this business. One of my goals was to make $10 million in revenue at Teacup. And I had someone say, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I lost all connection to these big, hairy, audacious goals that Bob Proctor, said to make for yourself, call them seagulls. And I still have big goals, but it was this fight to get there because it wasn't aligned, right? So after Dad died, I mean, everything kind of, I had a whole team turnover. Oh, the craziest thing. Yeah. Whole team turnover, had to rehire, really didn't take time to deal with it.
Well, so this is why it's so interesting. Like, Jen, you were at my house. You were at my pool.
Oh, the day before
your dad died.
Yeah.
And, you
from like that perspective, what did you think was going on with me that day? Like, can you even, I've never talked about that.
You were the same. You were actually at peace fairly, you were at peace. Yeah. I'd say you were at peace. That would be probably the energy when I can remember it really well.
Yeah.
And you, but you were also going through a lot of this employee stuff happened, like was happening right at that time too.
Yeah.
Like I remember that. I don't remember all
Yeah.
the details, but yeah, no, you were at peace.
There was a lot of change. I think it was, again, the emotional roller coaster of, having a diagnosis and then, okay, we're healing. Are we going to fix this? And then it's like, and it gets worse and it gets better and then it gets worse. And that was so taxing on my nervous system without necessarily knowing it right off the bat. I look back now and I'm like, it's exhausting. And how Dad was, like, he was a little frail, like, thank God, by the time he was admitted into the palliative care, it was only like 2 or 3 days or something like that before he passed. So that was good because it was time to be done. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was afterwards. And it's been 2 years. And now I finally feel like I have a purpose and I have energy again because I've been able to really go deep into that and realign. Mm-hmm. But it was, so Dad died in 2022, fall of 2023. I'd rehired a team. There were a lot of like economic things. Interest rates went up. Our sales were down. We sold, I think, 6 or 7 tiny homes. And my overhead was $76,000 a month. A freaking month. Mm-hmm. And there was no way it was going to last. It came around to a year ago, this time of year. A year ago, it was the end of November because that's our year end. And big things had to happen. Now, I think that if you don't take these like little hints from the universe or whatever, the things that are being presented to you, if you don't make change and realize them, you're going to get a baseball bat upside the head. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happened. Mm. So, yeah, basically we had someone that was going to build. I wouldn't have made any changes if it didn't get so like bad, quote, quote. So what happened is we had a build coming in. The guy pulled out and there was no money coming in. And yes, there were savings. And yes, thank God I had learned how to run a really good business. But the $76,000 of overhead, some decisions need to be made.
It gets eaten up quick.
Really quick. It goes away real fast. Yeah. So it wasn't hard to see how many months that was going to take for that to go away. So I came in, I told the general manager, I mean, he knew the financials, he knew what was going on. We knew what had to happen. Basically, I had to get out of my lease and I went and met with a mentor of mine who I think with all good intention, I think he was going through some things of his own at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we'll probably talk about at one point is when you're going to get advice from someone, they will be reflecting. They will only be able to give you advice back on the lens that they're going through, right? So it's always filtered. So with good intention, it was what this person encouraged me to do was exactly what needed to be done at that point in time because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And everything worked out perfectly, but it fucking sucked. Like it was the worst. So I came in on that Friday after meeting with that mentor and I said, I'm done. I said, I'm closing the business. It had been 7 years.
So his advice to you was basically like close the business?
So he let me come to that conclusion. We looked at the financials really closely, but he was basically like, you're not gonna be able to keep going. And do you want $500,000 out of this, or do you want $1,000, or do you want to owe people money, in a few months? And I couldn't wrap my head around all the things, but I was in such a low state that I couldn't. It was so hard to see the positives. And I had already been that way. Like I said, this was already a year of like me not having a purpose and no alignment. I didn't know what I wanted. None of those big goals made any sense anymore. So it was like, why? I couldn't see the positive side.
Yeah. But it was also almost easier to let go too, right?
No. So after that, so I think the night before I met him, just to make that decision, I told Nick, and Nick was like, I feel like I'm going to puke. And I was like, cool. I'm like, you can't feel like you're going to, I feel like I'm going to puke. You can't feel like you're going to puke. This is me. This is my life. This is a massive amount of what our life is. And this is all our kids know. And I felt I was grieving because my kids love the company. They love being at the shop. I was probably great. Like a lot of that grief was probably wrapped up in Dad too. A lot of it was,
oh God,
right? Like it was just kind of like this whole big, like,
it's the identity.
Yes.
It's identity.
Exactly. And
it's who you've been, and it's who you've been working for.
That's who you're introduced. And Jen with Teacup. And I'm like,
and the big goals and the vision. And like when you own a company, especially when it's so integrated in your whole life and your family and everything, I mean, who doesn't own a company and isn't integrated?
Yeah.
Anyway, your kids are a big part of that. Like every day they're part of that vision.
Yeah.
They're a big part of it. Like they ask you the questions and then you explain it and you talk of the big game, and it's always like in the future, in the future, in the future. So for it to just like stop, there needs to be something, like we're so used to something that, what's gonna
knowing what's coming next.
What's gonna come next? Yeah, that's done.
Yeah.
And especially, I think
you have a job to go to. If you quit your job, you have a job lined up.
Yeah.
Most of the time anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? Like there's that. I mean,
it was so abrupt.
Well, and that's where like Nick's coming from too.
Yeah.
Probably,
because I hadn't talked to him about it at all. I had just gotten back from a 2-week Mediterranean cruise with my mom, for God's sakes. Like this was, I think, a week or two after I was back. Yeah. So it was, I did it. I shut her all down. I will tell you, it was the worst thing. It was the biggest failure. I felt it was the biggest failure of my life. I was embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll tell you a secret. The biggest thing that I fear is bankruptcy. And I don't know why. Like it's not that big of a deal. And now going through what I went through last year, it isn't as much of a big deal to me as it was before.
Interesting.
So it's almost like this was given to me to face my fear, my biggest fear. Because, why the bankruptcy is so was so terrifying to me, it was more of all the people that I would let down in the process. Like my team, I had like 11 people or 10 people or 8 people at that point in time. I don't exactly know. And I let them all, I felt like I let them all down. My salesperson at that, like then Shireen, she was actually, I felt so terrible because it was so abrupt. Although they knew there wasn't stuff coming in, although they knew that they probably knew. I just felt like I was just like ripping the carpet out from under them. And I hated that because I get very emotionally connected to my team. They're my team. They're my family. They're my people. Like we see each other every day. It's not like, and I can't not. See, that's a big difference between the masculine energy and the feminine energy in the workplace. I can't not get emotionally connected to my team.
Is it though?
I think so.
I don't know.
Well, because men will be like, it's just business. I'm like, no, it's not just business. You're breaking up with someone.
I think they'll say that, but then their actions and other things that they do might be different.
I think that men haven't generally been taught, like, again, stereotypically, men haven't generally been taught how to deal with those emotions. That being said, I have worked with some amazing men,
and it's culturally, okay to just for the man to just kind of walk away and it be like, oh well,
and then they shut it off. And maybe they care, and I'm sure they do feel responsible for them, but at the same time, business in itself has really been created around masculine energy. Right? It's not created for women or around women, and we've had to push this square peg into this round hole, and it doesn't fit. So it's up to us to change it. I think that's part of what we're doing today too.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a massive failure. I let everyone down. I closed it. I had to tell my landlord, and he kind of made me feel like a piece of shit about it. Of course, why wouldn't he? Right? I had a 5-year contract. I was 2 years into this $15,000 a month lease. And he's like, I saw it coming like 2 years ago. I'm like, cool. So he just had to mansplain to me.
That's like,
and I know he wasn't trying to. I do know that. That's how I took it, because I already felt like a giant piece of shit. It's like, you spill the milk and you have someone yelling at you because you spilled the milk. It's like, you don't need to tell me that I just spilled milk and to make me feel bad. I feel like shit. This isn't something I do all the time. The whole thing was terrible. I didn't want to ask people to help me pack stuff. Like, I took this video, I couldn't find it. I was like, I need to remember this moment as I'm trying to wheel this freaking heavy ass IKEA cabinet full of all my shit out the front door and load it into my truck. And it was so hard. And I don't know if it would have been that hard, but it was so freaking hard. I think just because everything was so hard at that point in time. And I struggled, and it's the most awkward piece of shit ever. I still have it. I don't know why I should have got rid of it. Wait. I don't actually even know where it is. Maybe I don't have it. Oh no, I do. Okay. It's downstairs. But it was the craziest thing. So panic attack, panicking, not sleeping, like massive anxiety attacks. Like I went to my holistic doctor and I was like, I think I need antidepressants. I will admit that there were suicidal thoughts, just thinking of like, what is this purpose? And it wasn't like, it wasn't like I don't want to be on this planet. I very much don't want to be on this planet. It wasn't like a like code red, you know, she's going to do something. I wasn't there. It was just like, what's the point?
What's the point?
Right?
Yeah.
What is the fucking point of it?
Yeah.
And that continued on. Three days after I let everyone go and we like canceled everything. We canceled our Shaw, we canceled our internet, like everything was shut down. And the client came back and said, Kate, I'm ready to build. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to tell him no? Like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, well, we've already taken a deposit from him. I can't say no. I'm like, whatever, I'll do this one more. And at that moment, I realized that if he hadn't taken that pause, I wouldn't have made those changes. If it wasn't for the mentor, if it wouldn't have been that pause, I wouldn't have stopped.
Yeah.
And I needed to stop.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't alignment.
It's such a huge lesson.
Huge.
Like, I think, yeah, there's this like you're moving, and it's like, everything's like easy when you're going upwards.
Yeah.
What happens like when you're stopped and stalling, or like, and you know there needs to be changes, but like, and you know it, but like you don't do it. I mean, I have a very similar story.
Yeah.
And it's fat, and it sucks that we've had to go through this because it's so painful.
Yeah.
Like, and you feel like such a failure.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I do it?
Why didn't I get rid of the people that I knew I needed to get rid of 6 months before? But it wouldn't have stopped the bleeding. That's the thing. If I would have made those small micro changes earlier in the year that I needed to make, it wouldn't have helped.
Hindsight's, they always say that.
You can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't connect them backwards. Yeah. So we did the build, and then I kind of just let it go.
But here's the other thing too, because you were going to sell Teacup.
So then I was going to sell Teacup, not public knowledge. I was going to sell Teacup.
Do you want to cut that out?
I don't know. We'll see. It might be okay. So so basically I was in the state where I'm like, okay, I got to do something. I thought I was going to like start a marketing company because I like marketing. And I got like a few months into that and I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this. I hate posting social media. What's going on? I don't want to start a podcast.
My favorite thing is you talk to, like, you and I are both like, oh, we hate social media. But we're like, people would be like, well, you guys are so great at it.
I know.
And like, oh, you're on there all the time. And we're like, ugh, we hate it.
Yeah, hate it. Exactly.
It's just like, I don't know, the paradox, or I don't know what that is. But anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't know what to do. There was nothing. And I still didn't know. I had no idea what to do. So we were months down the road, and we were doing this build. And then the crazy thing happened. Well, I did list Teacup for sale. We had an offer. It ended up not going through for a number of reasons. And I mean, we won't talk about those details, but
no,
I realized when we were kind of in that process of selling, and that I actually hate Teacup. And it was actually really good for me. And it was actually an amazing business.
Well, I think, I don't know, like, I think you talking to me, I think probably had a lot to do with that. No? Perspective?
Yeah.
At that time?
Well, because I had removed myself so far out of the day-to-day of what I actually liked when I started it. And then now that it was just me and, you know, the two guys that stayed along, which God bless them, you know, there's one person out of that whole time said to me, which I will never forget, that was Jer. And he said, you have a really great business. I think you should stick with it. One person told me to keep going. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Powerful. I haven't told him that. I've told him that. But yeah, so I just kept going, and it's a very, very long story. And the next year was so messed up. I didn't know what to do, but getting back into the day to day and just like letting it go and just going step by step and forgetting about those big goals. I just had to forget about it. And here I am. I mean, I was exhausted. I slept a lot. I worked part-time, made the easiest 6 Teacup tiny home sales of the entire 7 years. And just kept going. And I got to interact with the clients, and they were amazing and they were beautiful. And I realized and remembered why the hell I was here doing that. And I just really found gratitude and joy in those maybe mundane, but in the stuff that I knew how to do, in the color selection meetings. I've been doing those since I was 19, in the like easy peasy things, talking to the trades and really entering into that spirit, really being in that and in those moments of like the stuff that I thought I needed to delegate and the things that I need to run away from. I was running away from it, but it was actually what saved me, if that makes sense. So I think that there is power in that realignment, going back to just go back to the beginning, right? Go back to the foundation. Why did you start? And I never would have, like I said, unless I had to. So
yeah,
massive suck. I still don't know. It was so funny with the next bill. It was like, hey, so remember that time where I said I was closing Teacup? I said this email is like all my trades. And that's one thing I regret so much. I sent it out to like my electrician, my suppliers. I'm like, thank you for your support over the last 7 years. Unfortunately, I've decided to close, blah, blah, blah. So then 2 months later, I'm like, jokes.
Just kidding.
And I legit said that in my email. I was like, remember that time that I told you? Just kidding. We have another build and I need to order all this stuff. And so people were worried about me paying them because I think they thought that I did go bankrupt. And I'm like, no, there's plenty of friggin' money. It was me. And then, so now this whole midlife crisis thing comes up. And they're like, when you went through your midlife crisis last year, ha ha. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. No. But it was so necessary.
Like, yeah, but I don't have my hot, 18-year-old dude in my red Corvette.
Exactly. I don't have my red Corvette and my, I haven't moved. I haven't had a divorce. I think that that's part of midlife crisis-y stuff is you just feel like nothing is working. So you take it out on your partner. But,
there's a lot that goes into that. I've been reading a lot about that. Like, it's very interesting. Yeah. Just big life changes. That is when you go through a big life change. That's a huge life change, identity shift or whatever.
Yeah.
Your relationships are affected. Absolutely. Yeah. Today.
Yeah.
What's something that you've sucked at today? Just today.
It's miraculous.
You were you miraculous today?
I'm miraculous today.
Oh, it's a good day.
Let's see.
Where are you on your cycle?
No, actually, legit. I'm like ovulating. So I'm like, this is the perfect time.
It is
I know.
Good.
I know. What did I suck at today? I don't know. I don't think I have things where I suck daily. Like yesterday, I was like trying to go through the website. When projects take too long, I find I get really cranky and I feel like, okay, I'm not good at this. It's not coming easily. It's not, so I'm redeveloping the website and I have someone helping me and she's sending me notes and I'm doing the work, which I like because then I can get in there, but I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm like halfway through and I'm like, nope, I don't care if I look at this again. I did the 3 major pages and I got to move on and figure out how to make money. Like, cause what I'm doing in there, it's not generating income.
When you get too detailed into it, I know.
Yeah. And so I want to move on. So that was yesterday. Today I was really excited. Actually, today I woke up and I was like, frig, I'm tired. And I was a little bit bitchy with the kids. I think they're excited. But then I had a meditation. I think they're excited about Christmas. And then I had a meditation and then I calmed down and it was great. So
good.
How did you suck today?
I didn't suck today, Jen.
Yeah. Well, if you suck today, that's okay. Because ultimately,
just trust me, tomorrow will suck.
Tomorrow may suck. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be the next day. I mean, just wait. Just wait for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. Because ultimately, we suck. And so do you.
Next week on the UnSUCKcessful podcast, we'll dive into Brandy's story, her people-pleasing, perfectionist tendencies, and how they've led her through some major life shifts, including leaving the banking business, starting her business, and yes, having her spare baby. If you like what you're hearing, we would love, love, love for you to leave us a review. Please, 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 and hit subscribe. Also, head over to Instagram and share some of your favorite sucky moments. Don't forget to tag us at UnSUCKcessful Podcast. Tune in next week to the podcast that helps you suck just a little bit less. Bye for now.